We are 1 week away from Election Day, and a crucial swing state court just affirmed a lower court decision that's a little concerning. Mail ballots arriving up to 3 days after the November 5th election can be counted regardless of whether they bear a postmark or not in Nevada. Here to discuss is Blaze senior politics editor Chris Bedford. So, Chris, let's get into this. How much of an impact could this decision have on the election in Nevada?
Serious impact in Nevada. There are signs all over the country that desperate activists and politicos are willing to do things that are shady. The Democrats fought extremely hard for this. They basically used delay tactics, delay, which is, as most people who have ever had any unfortunate involvement with the American legal system know, these things can stretch on forever. Republicans have been trying to fix this for months and months and months and months. Democrats pushed it back as part of the intentional tactic because they don't want there to be checks and balances on ballots coming up. And because of that, the judge didn't even really decide on the merits, just said, listen, it's too close to the election. The Republicans has got to be so frustrating because they had been really working on this for a while now. And when you see these cases, in Pennsylvania, for example, where somebody was caught dropping off potentially thousands of ballots across 4 different counties, filled out, investigators wonder, by the same person, which would make them fraudulent. When you see election drop boxes getting lit on fire in Antifa areas of the Pacific Northwest, you're starting to see some dangerous signs because, listen, elections don't just need to actually work. They don't just need to be able to count the votes properly. They also, and this is really important, need people to believe that that is what they are doing. So it's not enough to be fair. Everything could be above board in Nevada. And it's still, if there are seeds of doubt and people do not think that, then it rots the trust in institutions and can lead to some chaos.
Chris, we've already been through this in a way, right? I mean, we've already been through this in spades. I mean, 2020 was revolved around this question. So when you look out and you see this happening again, do you think we're just going to see a replay of what happened last time across the country in terms of the response and the questions that people are asking?
I think we'll see a replay of the response and the questions. I think we'll get further than previously. I think Republicans have started to wake up to this. I think that the early conspiracy theories about foreign governments controlling different computers, which went too far and turned a lot of people off. Molly Hemingway's book, Rigged, really gave the tools to elected officials, who are obviously extremely cowardly on subject matters like this, to be able to talk about the problems, the systemic problems, the COVID measures that were put in, actually expose some of these tactics that are used by unscrupulous activists who would prefer to see Democrats in office. I was at that time reporting at the Federalist, and I thought I was going to be able to relax after that election. I ended up in Philadelphia, where I kind of struck gold in that the guys who used to run the Philadelphia Democratic machine, the union guys, the organized crime guys, they'd been pushed out by woke politicians elected by woke liberals since Philadelphia had become so gentrified in certain areas. And they no longer had the access to the powers. They were willing to talk about the different methods that they used, the different judges that they used, not to wholesale cheat, but to tinker around the edges, to be kind of scammy, to be taxed suspiciously. They were willing to talk about that sort of thing. Now Republicans are willing to talk about it. These lawsuits are only happening because Republicans are taking it seriously. I do not think that Democrats will be as successful at this enough to actually chip the election. I think that the incredibly depressed turnout, the terrible campaign that President Trump ran in 2020, the optimism and the hope that something could actually be different amongst Democrats, that Joe Biden might actually be someone who healed us as opposed to divided us, the state of the economy, all those things played in where by a pretty small margin, Democrats are actually able to take that vote. They don't have that advantage this time. So I am still cautiously optimistic that Republicans will win. And from that position, they have to take it seriously. They have to actually look at what's going on in Pennsylvania. They have to look at what's going on in Nevada. They have to figure out why counties like Maricopa claim it could take them days and days to count ballots. No, you have to figure this out right now. And once Republicans start to really take it seriously, hopefully this will be something in our past.
Well, I think Hillary Clinton is actually agreeing with you because she had election night fireworks planned over the Hudson River, Chris. That is not her plan anymore. That's been canceled, according to a law enforcement official. So, what does that tell you about what the Clintons at least think is going to happen on election night?
Well, the Clintons are going to be holding their nose, and you saw from Bill Clinton the way he was talking about it earlier. They certainly don't seem too impressed with Kamala. I think Hillary Clinton is someone who's probably a little annoyed that she is not going to be the first female president, extremely annoyed. And I think she'd even be annoyed if Kamala was the first female president at this point. Yeah, those elections, that's a story that's resurfaced lately because Hillary Clinton, when she was running, had a big party planned. She booked the Javits Center, which has history with Donald Trump because he'd worked really hard to develop that land and he'd been kind of screwed over by the mayor of New York. It had been given to someone else who built the Javits Center. He lost a lot of money. He wrote about it in the Art of the Deal, how ticked off he was about it. She chose that to do her campaign celebration when she was going to be Madam President. She booked all these fireworks for the Monday before, for Tuesday election night to be prepared. They had a big glass ceiling in the Javits Center. People knew for weeks and weeks that this is what she was going to do. People were lined up for miles that night. I was down there. And then the night before what was supposed to be her coronation, Queen Hillary, she canceled those fireworks. And that is almost certainly the internal polling that Democrats were getting. They were preparing potentially for disaster. And right now you see that kind of reflected in Kamala Harris. They literally had an off-the-record conversation with reporters today about logistics for where the celebration was. Don't worry, I wasn't on the call, so I can repeat it. And they didn't include where the celebration is going to be. They're being really tight-lipped about it. There are rumors, and we're going to be investigating those rumors. But for now, they want to avoid the embarrassment Hillary Clinton went through.
They might want to tie down all the lamps as well there, Peterson.
Yes. I'm glad you mentioned that. I think
no lamp was safe.
I think that we have an enormous problem here where good Democratic oligarchs can't even plan a decent party. This is really becoming an issue. We've really reached an interesting point in our coverage. I think we should talk about something else, though. How about this one, Chris? We have an archbishop in Puerto Rico asking Trump to apologize or disavow what a comedian said about Puerto Rico being a floating island of garbage. In the midst of a joke, Puerto Rico, growing up with some of my relatives from New York City, I thought people of all kinds in America sort of made New Jersey-esque jokes sometimes about Puerto Rico, including Puerto Ricans themselves. But this is sort of interesting. I mean, the Archbishop seems up in arms. What do you make of this?
It ticks me off to absolutely no end. It's so perfect. It's a perfect encapsulation of the Catholic Church, which you and I both belong to, Matt, and love, but the incredible bureaucratic cowardice of the bishops. Now, we are right now in an election with like an openly anti-Catholic candidate in Kamala Harris, much more so than previous candidates. Someone who's literally tried to bar Catholics and members of the Knights of Columbus from judgeships in the United States because she doesn't like the religion. She wants to force Catholic hospitals to provide abortion. She wants to force Catholic insurance companies to pay for it. She wants to follow the model the Democrats have used in Massachusetts and other places to shut down Catholic orphanages if they follow their belief on marriage and what they think is a healthy home for children. She parties with the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, which are an absolutely ghoulish and satanic group of anti-Catholic people. So the bishops speak out about that? No, because of course the realm of spiritual warfare they consider not something the church should be talking about in public. Instead, what they decide to talk about is Donald Trump. I have not. There's been the United States Conference of Bishops has been pretty quiet this election. They haven't talked about religious liberty like I think they really ought to be, but they at least haven't gone after Trump the way that they have previously. There's been a hardworking, behind-the-scenes campaign by prominent Catholics in America to tell them, "Hey, be quiet. If you got nothing nice to say nothing at all." I guess that memo may not have been received down in San Juan. But for this to be the first measure that a bishop feels like they should use their pulpit to demand, I'm fine with bishops making demands of politicians. I think they should make a lot more. They're fellow princes on this earth. They should treat them as equals, not as their leaders. But for this to be the moment when you call it out, and by the way, Donald Trump didn't say anything about Puerto Rico. Bishops you should have a better understanding of sin and wrong than to demand a personal apology from Donald Trump for this. So, it's another day, it's another problem. Fortunately, because of the incredible mismanagement of Catholic hierarchy over the last 40 years in American life, no more liberals are joining the church. All the new priests are conservative. So, in 20 years' time, everyone's happily retired. I think you might see a different kind of reaction politically from bishops.
That is very well said, Chris. Now, what can I look forward to as I wake up to the Beltway brief in my inbox tomorrow morning?
I can't wait. I just finished it. I'm looking through. I think there's been a little bit of the willies that have entered some Republicans because things were going so well. And then someone who a lot of us have not actually heard of because we're not online enough made a joke. And now, the sky is falling. The Archbishop's condemning people. But I've got a good point, I think, that would set that straight. And where Republicans want to be talking this final week, where Democrats are, and which of those just might be running the stupidest campaign in my living life.